Hey guys, so I suppose you want an explanation about this truck here, and basically here's the story on it. This truck here, we've had it for actually quite a long time. I think I've kept it going for, I don't know, 8-9 years, and it really hasn't changed a lot. This is the way it was when I got it. I never did any of this body work, just the way it was. It always looked like hell, ran badly, but it worked. It was reliable. Then it started to have transmission problems, and it still goes, but you got to kind of manually shift it to skip basically third gear because it's slipping away in that gear. And it doesn't help that it was used to pull, you know, pretty heavy horse trailers and car trailers and all that sort of fun stuff. Now this one was supposed to be its replacement. That was the deal with it. Now I bought this one. I got a good deal on it because the guy said it needed injector work. That's what his mechanic told him. He replaced 2 of the 8, and I figured, okay, how expensive can an injector be, because I didn't do my research. And of course, they ended up being very expensive on these kind of trucks. A set costs, hey, Tuffy, here, Mark said to do that. Anyways, so I'll sit in here because it's out of the wind. Anyways, the deal is that you know, I found out that injectors in these things are not cheap like they are for like a 6.5 or anything like that, and that's because they're pretty complicated. Anyways, my mistake, and there was a lot more mistakes along the way, is I tried a whole bunch of things at first to fix it rather than drop the, you know, $1,800 it was going to cost for a new set of injectors for this thing. Among the things replaced were things like the cam position sensor, glow plugs, you know, the glow under valve cover wiring harnesses. There was a bunch of hack work on the connectors for that as well, that were just twisted together and wrapped in tape. And I soldered that up, replaced the connectors, replaced under valve cover harnesses, on and on and on. And you know, there was a whole big production with this truck that took, you know, like I had it for about 18 months and it was never on the road. And basically by the time I finally got it where it would start correctly, suddenly I noticed a massive oil leak in the oil pan. And I was starting to have had enough at that point with this truck. And at that point I went and I got one of those pan saver things that I've seen on YouTube. And it only covers the lower portion of the pan. And you glop it on there, and it seemed to solve the problem for about a day. And then it started pouring out higher up on the pan, massive amounts of oil. And at that point, I just said, literally, okay, language warning, fuck this thing. I've had enough. Every time I do something with it, something else breaks. And I've had enough, and I made a buddy deal with friends and said to him, I'll sell it to you for $5,000, which is what I paid for it, and I probably dumped another $2,500 into this thing. So I was taking a massive bath on it as it was, but I said, I've had enough of this thing, you know, bye-bye. And they leapt on it and said, yes, we want it. And so I did them a buddy financing deal, which is always a brilliant thing to do. And they gave me $1,000, and they're gonna pay me the next $4,000 when they got the tax money the following spring, this spring, as a matter of fact. Well, time passed, and I never heard anything from them. And I called them in like May, and they told me that they hadn't done their taxes yet, and that they didn't have the money for me. And so I said, okay, I let it go. And then every once in a while, because their sons like to borrow my car trailer, every once in a while I just drop a message to pass back to them, hey, what's happening with this money? And finally last Friday or Saturday I called them. And it was starting to bug me a bit. And got what I perceived as call screened. And I'm still 100% on what happened there. And I won't go into the details of what it was, but it was very obvious, put it that way. Anyway, so I went and I drove up there yesterday to go and talk to them bright and early. and see what was going on, and basically to be fair to them, one person was sick and was off work for a month, and even though they fully intended that they wanted to buy the truck, I offered them the choice of letting me buy them back out of the truck for what they owed me, and they took it. And so that's why this thing is back. Now, it's not entirely a bad thing, because the truck is running better. Towards the end of the time that, like I said, I got it running, I got it finally starting reliably after I did a bunch of work on it, like I said. The funny thing was, towards, just before I passed it on to them, it was not starting well again. And of course, just this last Friday, just before I called them to talk to them about this truck, they had gotten it to start easily. And the hilarious thing about it was, they replaced the cam position sensor again with one I'd given them, a spare I'd given them, and suddenly it started starting again. Here, I'll show you. It started starting nicely again. I'll give it a go here. So there's a cold start from yesterday. I might have to cycle the glow plugs a couple of times, but we'll try it. We'll see. It's going to be a pig. I said to them yesterday that this truck likes to prove me to be a liar, and it may be true. You can see it chooching away back there. So, once it warms up, it runs fine. I suspect that some of the problems now... Let's shut this up. Some of the problems now are due to the fact that it's got some pretty old diesel in it. Like, we're talking about being 2.5 years probably since it's been on the road. So, anyways, so what's left to do on this thing here? Well, I think I mentioned in one of the emails that that pan saver never worked. They never replaced the pan. So I ordered a pan. It's in at Napa. I'll go in tomorrow morning and pick it up. And I'm going to replace this pan. And I think I'm going to try and see if I can put this thing on the road and drive it myself. Now, it's got a few other problems, but nothing that'll affect the safety. Well, most least of which is the power seat doesn't work anymore. Feels like it's trying to, so it must be just bound up, so I'll just have to dismantle that. And the seat is really loose, which might just mean a trip to the junkyard anyways. They found that this door wasn't closing, and that was what was killing the battery. And I had that problem myself where it wasted 2 batteries for me. What else? I think that's it. The glass is all intact, so it shouldn't be hard to safety. There's probably enough enough tread on the tires that they'll pass the safety. So the plan is to try and safety this, and we'll see how we go. And if I can't safety it, then I'll just probably move it on. But I got to replace that oil pan first. But this thing is really not very happy, is it? I suppose somebody's going to tell me that that's probably a big bad sign. I haven't run a buzz test on this, which tests the fuel injectors. Maybe one of them sticking again, which would suck because that was a whole new set. Anyways, guys, that's the story on this truck. Obviously, it is starting better. I was going to move it around to the side of the shop, but yes, somebody likes the truck. Obviously, well, I've lost my train of thought there, but anyways. So the plan is to try and put this thing on the road now. I've got it back. I need another truck. I could do that gray truck, but this one will be a much better trailer puller than that one will. So if it's going fairly reliably now, starting fairly reliably, that was a big part of the problem I was having. The only other thing that needs to be done now is to sort out this oil leak, you know, engine oil pan leak, which is a very large enterprise to replace. You basically have to pull the engine is what the recommended way of doing it, or you can cut out the cross member and let it drip for a while, clean it up, and then goop it in the vehicle and weld the cross member back in. I'm probably leaning to the second of those two options, but I'm sure some people have some things to say about that. That's what was recommended to me by another person that, a long time ago. I believe he's a fleet mechanic for somebody, and he had to maintain a lot of these things, and he just recommended that. Cut out the cross member, drop the pan, let it drip for a day, rinse it all off, and then goop your new pan on and weld the old cross member back in. Anyways, guys, I have no idea how long I've been rambling here, but that's the story on this truck. It's not a bad looking truck. It's rusty underneath, and as you might have seen in the video yesterday, the passenger side running board has fallen off, and the driver's side one fell off when I sold it to them, which is hilarious. I think actually what happened was it didn't fall off. I think somebody in a fit of rage stomped on it and it broke off. But anyways, and that somebody would be me, by the way. Anyways, guys, so there's this story on the F350. I'm going to give it another go this time around and see if it's going to be a usable truck for me. Anyways, later, guys. Thanks for watching. Oops, I should have done a cold start on this one.